So hello BookTube, this is the Reading Africa project video announcement, and here I'm going to tell you who am I, why am I doing this challenge, what do I hope to gain from it, what are the frameworks, and how can you join in if you would like to in your own way. So the first thing is, my name is Rasmika. I am South African Indian. I have been here for approximately 5 generations. My family was brought here by the British to work on sugarcane plantations, mines, railroads, a lot of these different things. This happened approximately late 1800s to early 1900s, and so my family is quite settled here within South Africa. I do consider this to be my home, and if I had the choice, I would not want to leave. So, yeah, but within my schooling, I just didn't have any exposure to South African history or literature or anything like that unless it was in an indigenous South African language. And I found that to be quite a shame because we do have like Nobel Prize winning authors within this country who have written in English. And so when I joined BookTube at 19 years old, I was freshly out of high school and I wanted to fill in those gaps that my education left. So that's what I did. My paradigm at that point was that I needed to learn from 1948 to 1994. That was the apartheid regime within South Africa, a very traumatic time. And my parents and grandparents are still suffering with the psychological and socio-economic and socio-political effects of that. And so I wanted to give myself that informal education. It took about a year of being on BookTube where I felt that I had discharged my wish. I was done. I was quite satisfied. And so I expanded my horizons beyond 1994. So I read more modern South African literature, I read from the African continent in general, and that kind of lends itself to this challenge. So I currently work with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. I work with a lot of people from different African countries, and I can just see that my knowledge is patchy at best. And at worst, the South African education system keeps us in silos on purpose. And this is to manufacture things like xenophobia, Afrophobia, that kind of thing, this fear of the other, because we know nothing about the other. You know, I remember watching a movie called Hotel Rwanda in geography class about the Rwandan genocide, and I was shaken, like, yo. And I just think that it's such a shame to be a global citizen in such a connected world and to know so little about my neighbors. And so that's why I'm doing this challenge. And the point of this challenge is to give me a very broad overview. There's 55 countries on the African continent, and my aim is to read one book from each country. And obviously, one book is not enough for you to understand everything. But that's not the aim at this point. It's just to give me a very broad overview. The first prize is that the author must be a citizen or have lived within the country for a significant period of time. So preferably, I don't want to hear from a British journalist or a UK journalist or a European correspondent within the continent. Preferably, it's going to be from a Namibian author writing about Namibia. But I will give myself some wiggle room in this regard because who knows, something might pique my interest. Otherwise, I don't really have any particular frameworks. I'll read from men, women, LBGT experience, minority experience, but the reality is also I'm not very well versed in terms of the different ethnic groups and the power dynamics or anything. So I'm coming almost completely as an outsider, and I'll just read something that intrigues me. So yeah, that is the aim. That's the Reading Africa project, and I hope you will join me. I'm going to split the TBR, so the to be read, into geographical sections. I did a poll on YouTube, and that's what you said would be the most logical. So we'll do north, east, west, central, south, and if something sticks out to you, you can read it along with me. If it doesn't and you just enjoy this discussion but you're not going to take on any of the books, that's also totally fine. So yes, I'm going to split it up, then you'll get a sense of what I'm reading and why, and then from there we can discuss more. If you want to recommend me things, that's fantastic. I will also read anything, so poetry, short stories, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But the one thing I will say, which is a limitation, is that I know South African languages, I know English, and I know a tiny bit of French. So my French is at B1, which is not very good. So preferably I will be looking for things that have been translated into English. If it's in French, I don't know that I'm going to be confident enough to be reading in French. So yeah, that is the challenge. That's what I hope to gain. Just a very, very brief overview of the African continent, and then from there, after this challenge, maybe I will take a particular interest in the East or the West or the North or whatever the case may be, and go more in depth within those places. But for now, broad overview will suffice. So like and subscribe if you want to join on this challenge. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy your day.